Ben's back.
1. I was down here earlier when we all went to bed, talking with the guard and the bartender. They were still there.
The guard does
I went back
agree.
upstairs. I tried to sleep, and several shifts have passed. I've come back down just shortly after the bartender went upstairs. I was with the guard while the bartender went upstairs because I noticed that the body here was deflating.
To which the doctor gives a good look over at the victim, and you now notice that this body is literally like a pancake. This thing is oozing on the table. Like about to drip off the side kind of deal. The clothes seem intact, but the body is very much gelatin. Magistus is have a hand over her mouth, trying her best to figure out what in the world.
I continue on stating that when I came down and noticed that, we sent the bartender up to get the doctor and magicist, and I was here with the guard again, pointing out that my knives were missing. In no time, in no particular instance, was I down here more than those 2 instances.
Everyone starts looking at each other, unsure how to figure this out.
Do you all think that it would be a good idea to check the dwarf's person to make sure Simon hasn't been partaking of the bartender's stock? That would explain why he's knocked out cold.
The guard agrees and asks the doctor to take a look. The doctor stands up and says, "What time is it?" Notions, to which everyone kind of glances around, wondering why does he care. To which the innkeeper looks outside and says, "It's nearly morning. Why?" The doctor says, "I have a schedule to keep, and I think this charade is just about over."
Would your schedule have anything to do with dawn, perhaps?
"How clever," the doctor remarks very snidely. "But not for what you think," he says. "What have we learned tonight? A man has died. From several reasons. Possibly one reason. And what did we do? We assumed it was someone in this room. We based on evidence. We figured out that everyone in here has a motive. Except you." What's you? That seems a little suspicious. Regardless, everyone in here has delved in some way against this man. Even the dwarf here. To which he slides up the dwarf's sleeve to show that same insignia tattoo we saw on the victim earlier that no one made any comment for. Now everyone here has been truthful. We can all agree that. We are all frightened and afraid. But what makes us people? How can you discern an imposter from the real thing? Everyone is unsure how to respond to this. He stares at you. "Well, how do you find out the truth?"
By ruling out what is false.
"And what have you learned? What are you looking for?"
I, personally, am looking for the poison. First and foremost. We can all agree that this man, I point to the corpse, has been no more than a pincushion to everyone who has a grudge against him. Now, I'm not saying that any one person in this room killed him. He could have been dying on his way in. But there are individual wounds here that scream each and every one of us. It seems to me like maybe, just maybe, and I'm reaching, that this person was dead when everyone here tried to kill him. The guard has many an arrow.
The doctor instantly starts clapping as if to interrupt you purposely. You kind of fume a little bit because you were onto something good there. You thought that would have been a good show against everyone to kind of win them on your side. The doctor says, yes, yes, but that is not what I asked. I asked, what are you looking for? What did we establish? We established that there might possibly be something more than a human, that we might have an undead person in our presence. Am I correct?
You are.
And have we not tested everyone in here to see if they are?
We've tested everybody. And I mean every body, save one.
And who might that be? The doctor says.
Why, you. No one can claim that you actually touched the crucifix. You insisted that you did.
A few people give looks of anger and a few people of surprise. Ooh, yes, I believe that is correct, he says. As you now see that dawn is approaching, sunlight begins to pour into the top windows on the far sides of the wall. From the trajectory you are standing, you believe if you keep this doctor stalled, that this will actually go right down onto him himself.
Now, I want you to think about this for a moment, Doctor. And I won't take up too much of your time, or I'll try not to. Everyone here obviously has had some grudge against this corpse, this poor, deflated individual. We have the guard whose crossbow arrows, like I was trying to say, could have possibly matched. One of them, at least. We've also have the excellent knowledge of magics, as the curse has been shown on the sword.
To which anybody could have placed, the Magicus chimes in.
I admit this, yes.
As you
However,
stall, the sunbeams get closer and closer as everyone kind of thinks they figure out what you're doing as this sunbeam starts to inch its way towards the back of the doctor.
However, you admit that your potions have been stolen. And you admit that this individual, however his name still is not precisely noted, as he has been called many different things by all of you, has stolen your potions. That would give you reason for poison. Another thing.
The sunbeam is almost upon him.
Another thing, we have the dwarf over here who has, now we have seen, a matching tattoo. Which, I can state, more than likely means he was in the same guild as this person. He could have been chasing him. He could have been doing something else. However, the most important thing I want to note is this person, quote-unquote, is melting. Meaning he may not have been a person at all, however, a puppet.
Very good. You finally got something right. This person may not be a person at all. Now, to shatter everyone's dreams and destroy your ego of your little pride right now, I would very much like for you to give me that crucifix, he says, as this sunbeam is just inches away from him.
any particular reason.
To show you some truth you are obviously overlooking. He holds his hand out, waiting for this crucifix.
Now, but you insisted before that you had the crucifix. Why would you want it now?
Well, you have just claimed that I had not touched such a thing, to which he gives a very gracious bow and sidesteps out of the sunlight that is just passing by. So please, hand it over.
I approach.
He holds his hand out. Everyone looks on, held breath.
I would like to try and forcefully push it into their hand.
Okay.
And then using my other arm, throw them into the sunlight.
Okay, roll a d20. Give you advantage.
16.
Alright. You jam this crucifix into his hand, to which the doctor immediately grabs the back of your hand. As you pull him to the side, right into the direct sunlight, he stands there and just stares at you. No reaction from either. The doctor just stares at you. You see, you've been looking for what you know, not what you don't know. You think you were looking for a creature of the undead, as he pushes your hand harder into his, as he puts his face right into the sunlight and smiles and waves around as if to taunt you. We've all been pointing fingers, but what is the saying? Always expect the unexpected. My dear innkeeper, if you would, look underneath the bar. She very quizzically looks and takes a look down, and another gasp of scream is heard as she stumbles backwards. The guard rockets around the side past the bartender, to which he does not feel he needs to describe it, but he instantly forcefully lifts up this bar table and tosses it aside like as if he needs to prove something. And there underneath the table lies the dead body of the bartender, to which instantly everyone looks at the bartender standing right behind the guard. The doctor says, "You think you have everything figured out, but sometimes you just can't figure things out the way you expect." As you now notice his hands start to engulf yours in a globulous mass. Roll a d20.
I rolled a 9.
Alright. Do you think you have any sort of creature knowledge or anything that may help you on this roll?
None. I'm a pickpocket. I pickpocket in the city.
Nothing at all. Alright. Do you think the Magicist would have any... Do you think anyone else here would have any higher creature knowledge?
The other adventurer. Or the guard, as they are elves. They know more.
The guard is not an elf, but...
You said the guard was an elf.
The doctor is an elf, the guard is human. The adventurer and the Magicist are half-elves. But that is not too important at this point.
Okay.
Roll another d20. Maybe your mind was foggy. You should know this.
12.
Well, in fact, that will be good enough. You now notice, as you try to gather what is happening and why is there two of the same person in a melting body, that this... Maybe there was a vampire, maybe there was not, but you are now dealing with something else. You are now dealing with simulacrums, otherwise known as body snatchers, made of gelatin. Basically living ooze, if you will.
Well, this wasn't going nearly where I was thinking.
To which the doctor is engulfing your arm and is slinking up your shoulder. The bartender, that everyone is now staring at, his head splits apart like a scene out of The Thing and goes for the guard. To which all hell breaks loose. The bartender is a simulacrum, the doctor is a simulacrum, the adventure is a simulacrum and goes after the innkeeper. The butcher's corpse and the victim's corpse begin to slowly rise too, which are also simulacrums, and go after the magicist. Everybody, roll for your lives. What
What
to
is
do?
this, the blob? 18.
Alright, what do you want to do?
I want to pull back immediately.
You want to release yourself from this doctor. That is plenty of leverage. You pull yourself free of this doctor. The guard will take a good smack to the face. He is down to 95. The innkeeper will be caught off guard. He will be trying to practically be smothered by the simulacrum. The magicist will have her hands full trying to fight off these two at the table, and the dwarf is still face down. So as far as you can gather through all this commotion that has just happened, you legitimately have a dead bartender. The guard is real, the magicist is real, the innkeeper is real, and the dwarf is real. Everyone else you believe has been replaced or was never real in the first place.
Oh my.
The doctor will take another stride at you with a 14. His arm forms into somewhat of a whip and will try to smash you across the face. It hits you for a d6 of 3. That will take a good 10 points off. You are down to 90. Feel free to jump in at any point as I roll for everyone else's commotion. The innkeeper will try to struggle and vaguely keep her footing.
Okay, well, from what I know, the obvious simulacrum body on the ground died from something. Something that we have.
Which one are you referencing?
Why did it burn?
You're referencing the initial victim?
The initial victim.
The initial victim is also forming back up with the butcher body. They do not appear to be dead, but as if it were feigning death. Simulacrums, you know, are very good imitators, as you have well seen tonight. But you believe that since this simulacrum is active, it was never dead in the first place. That this was a setup to get one of the real people here.
But who?
The magicist will pull out that stolen potion of invincibility, which she rolled a crit, and toss it over to you. Roll to catch.
1.
Alright, her crit makes it bounce off the floor without shattering, and it rolls to your feet, but you did not nearly get close to catching it. She rolls a... since she has rolled a crit, she will shake off the melting victim, but she is struggling with this butcher who is trying to attack her. The guard is fighting with this bartender simulacrum. He will give a good slash to it, taking it, like practically cleaving it in two, but it is a bloodless mask and it's not doing much effect. The innkeeper is struggling and kicks one of these simulacrums off of her as she tries to scramble around the bar. The dwarf will begin to come to and notice the fray and instantly become sober.
I head over to the table of weapons and try to grab something.
You run over to the weapons. There are still the spilled out arrows, and there are still the random knives you have taken from the other three people.
Trying to think, none of those would actually do very well against a gelatinous form.
You do have enough knowledge to know if you cut it up good enough that it does have a a form of heart, if you will. There is an actual essence inside of these globules, and they're not just plain jello. But you also figure if you cut it up enough, it probably will stop moving.
Well,
Wolf will scream, "What's going on?" as all this chaos ensues. A good hit against the Magus. She is down to 80.
Apparently half of us were dangerous dessert.
Alright. The innkeeper will run around the side of the guard, to which the adventurer will now turn its eyes back towards you. You are stuck between one simulacrum behind you and one in front of you.
Okay, I want to...
One of them will take a strike against the guard again. He is down to 85.
I grab my knives.
Your knives are still missing.
Right, I grabbed some of the other knives.
Grab some. How many?
Just 2.
2 knives.
1 in each hand. I want to try and julienne fry these.
Alright. We've got very low ACs. Roll it. Just will...
5.
5. Unfortunately, that is not good enough. What did you aim for?
I aimed for the chest.
Of which one?
The adventurer in front of me.
The adventurer's behind you.
Oh, the guy in front of me, sorry.
At this point, they're just simulacrums. Don't try to confuse yourself.
Yeah. The simulacrum in front of me.
Alright, he has an AC of 7. You slash through some of his gelatinous front, but it reforms. The Magicist will break off... Well, use the same bottle that had originally poisoned the victim in the first place, and try to smash the simulacrum over top of the head. Does enough damage for her to get loose.
How much damage did it actually...
It's not. It doesn't seem like you're doing too much damage to them. It looks like you need to find whatever their essence is. Their heart, if you will. The dwarf will get up to his feet and run over to the table and grab one of the knives you have left and take a charge at the simulacrum in front of you. To which he rolls a 5. He trips over his own feet. Lands just behind it, still trying to figure everything out. The simulacrum behind you will try to hit you with a 16. A good slash to the back. You are down to 80.
I also go after the simulacrum in front of me. Again.
Alright, roll it.
This time slashing at their... trying to do a straight slash across their head.
Okay.
Right into their head. 11.
11, that is good enough. You slash right through the head. A top portion, you have like literally filleted the head off, slops to the floor and starts dissolving. You did not cut through this essence, but now you see this kind of gibbering orb, just barely noticeable. Like you cut just a little bit too high, but you now know where it's at in this specific one.
Excellent.
The Magicist will begin to cast a spell against these 2 simulacrums of frost. Has a 12. It happens to hit both. She has frozen these 2 corpse simulacra at the table. We'll run over to try and assist the guard and the innkeeper. Guard rolls a crit and will downright just try to sock this one in the chest. He happens to hit it just right in a solid enough spot for his hand not to get stuck, and knock this thing backwards as he runs over to the table and tries to collect his bows and arrows. The innkeeper will try to stay as far away as possible.
I yell at the guard that the one in front of where the one in front of me's weak point seems to be. He's much better of a shooter than I am.
He happens to say, "That's good, but if we take them all out, then that's less on our plate." Basically, you kind of got a really strong vibe of deal with it yourself kind of vibe from him. The Magicist
try to work as a team. Thanks.
Rolls a 2. Unfortunately, is floundering for a weapon.
I want to take one downward slash at the one that was in front of me.
Alright, go for it.
How about a 20? How's that?
That'll work. You crit. You slice right through this thing, and it begins to instantly dissolve. There's a gibbering pile on the floor.
Suck on that, snot bucket.
The one behind you will come at you with a 12. It does hit your AC. Another good hit to the back. You are down to 70. Guard readies a crossbow with an 11 and happens to take a good shot at the bartender right through the head. Flounders backwards, but no effect.